Hello and welcome to Into Vietnam Weekend. I'm Ngọc Anh. We will bring you comprehensive news on Vietnam's economy throughout the week, ending June the 5th, and following our major stories. 5.1 billion US dollars of FDI is expected to be disbursed in Vietnam in the first half of this year. The State Bank of Vietnam raises compulsory foreign currency reserves and forced selling. And our conversation with Trung, National Head of Research and Consulting of Savills Vietnam. But first, let's have a look at the figures of the week.
Vietnam's Ministry of Planning and Investment on Thursday forecast the country's FDI disbursement would total $5.1 billion in the first half of this year, down 6% on year. Newly registered capital was predicted to reach $8 billion, down 5% on year. Vietnam attracted $4.53 billion of committed FDI in the first 5 months of 2011. 313 projects were licensed in the period.
Vietnam's Ministry of Planning and Investment forecasts the country's ODA disbursement would hit $1.35 billion in the first half. Grants are expected to total $85 million. In the first 5 months of the year, $1.26 billion of ODA was disbursed, with $70 million of grants. Vietnam's ODA disbursement exceeded $3.5 billion in 2010.
The Administration of Planning and Investment said public spending on development projects was estimated at $17.8 trillion in May. The sum included $3.8 trillion from the central government's budget and $14 trillion from local administrations. During the first 4 months of this year, public spending on development projects was estimated at $73.3 trillion, up 14.8% on year. Specifically, the capital managed by the central government exceeded $15.1 trillion, up 10.9% on year. Meanwhile, the capital managed by local administrations surged nearly 16% on year to more than $58.2 trillion. The Ministry of Planning and Investment earlier requested all government bodies to fulfill a national public spending reduction plan by June 30 to curb rampant inflation.
Vietnam's Ministry of Planning and Investment forecasts the country's GDP would surge by 5.6% on year in the first half of 2011. The ministry expects Vietnam's GDP to rise by 5.8% of the second quarter of the year, following the 5.43% growth in the first quarter. Industrial and service sectors are predicted to lead the GDP expansion, with 6.6% and 6.3% growth rates respectively. Particularly, the industrial production value is estimated to rise 14.2% on year to $419 trillion. The ministry also forecasts the country's export revenue would hit $41.5 billion in the first 6 months, up 27.8% on year. The import value is expected to surge 26.4% on year to $49 billion. This will bring the trade deficit of Vietnam to $7.5 billion in the first half, equaling to 18% of export revenue. The deficit mainly comes from trade with Asian countries, including China, South Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand. We'll now move on to securities news. The benchmarks of the Vietnamese stock market went up in the trading week ending June the 3rd, following positive macroeconomic news and regulations, but liquidity stayed sluggish as investors remain cautious. On Ho Chi Minh Stock Exchange, VN Index surged for most of the week before slumping in the final session on profit-taking. The benchmark closed the week at 443.41, up 32.59 points or 7.93% from the previous Friday. The trading volume averaged more than 33 million shares and fund units, totaling nearly 606 billion dongs per day. The figures declined 10% and 9.5% respectively from the week before. On Hanoi Stock Exchange, HNX index fell in 3 out of 5 sessions of the trading week, but the benchmark still climbed 3.04 points or 4.29% from the previous Friday to close the week at 73.87. The trading volume averaged more than 36 million shares, totaling nearly $390 billion per day. The data barely changed from the week before. Foreign investors returned to net buying on Ho Chi Minh Stock Exchange over the week ending June 3rd. They net purchased more than 8 million units, totaling nearly $237 billion. Meanwhile, these players also net bought around 2 million units, totaling nearly $22 billion on the northern bourse. Data of online publication Stock News show that foreign investors net bought $2.25 trillion on Ho Chi Minh Stock Exchange in the first 5 months of this year. Meanwhile, they net purchased more than $637 billion on the northern bourse. Their total net purchase on the two exchanges fell more than 50% on year, but still have boosted the sentiment of local investors. In the next part of the program, we will take a look at major macroeconomic and investment events during the past week.
The State Bank of Vietnam said on Wednesday it had raised the compulsory reserve banks merged set aside for foreign currency deposits. In addition, it was forcing state-owned companies to sell their currency holdings to banks from July. The State Bank of Vietnam raised the reserve ratio on non-term foreign currency deposits and on those with terms of up to 12 months to 7% from 6%. The rate for compulsory reserves on foreign currency deposits with terms of more than 12 months was raised to 5% from 4% per annum. The ruling came into effect for deposits from June. The U.S. dollar dominates banks' foreign exchange deposits, but the higher reserve requirements may discourage them to some extent. Furthermore, the central bank said Vietnamese state-run companies will have to sell the foreign currencies from their deposit accounts and any other legitimate income to banks from July 1st. The move was aimed to preventing state-owned companies from holding foreign currencies, especially during a difficult situation.
Vietinbank, Vietnam's largest listed lender, will complete the sale of a 15% stake to Canada's Bank of Nova Scotia in the second half of this year. The sale is worth $3.53 trillion or $174 million in face value. It would be conducted via a new share issue in the third or the fourth quarter. The sale is part of a plan to raise Vietinbank's registered capital by 41% to $23.8 trillion this year. After completing the capital raising plan this year via share issues, the state ownership in Vietinbank will drop to 68.26% from 80.3% now.
Singapore-based Capital Value Homes Limited under Capital Land Group has bought 64% stake worth $121.2 billion or some $6 million in Quốc Cường Saigon Company. The remaining stake, 35%, is held by two local Vietnamese firms. The firm intends to build around 800 value homes and Capital Value Homes will lead the development. It will be the Capital Land's third value home project and seventh residential development in Vietnam. Capital Land now has a residential portfolio of more than 6,400 units in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi.
Fund manager Vina Capital on Tuesday broke ground on the Ba Thiện 2 Industrial Park, capitalized at $65 million in the northern province of Vĩnh Phúc. The project will be built over 308 hectares of land and conveniently located close to Nội Bài International Airport as well as Hải Phòng Seaport. The industrial project will be equipped with modern infrastructure, including a power system and high-speed telecommunication system. The park is aimed to attract multinational companies. This is the first project in a northern province to have been kicked off by Vina Capital.
Vietnamese-Australian joint venture Jetstar Pacific said it could expand its fleet to 15 aircrafts by 2014. The low-cost carrier has employed 17 Vietnamese aircraft maintenance engineers. At present, it has 22 foreign and 3 Vietnamese engineers qualified as Category B engineers. As planned, half of JSTAR Pacific's engineers would be Vietnamese qualified for holding important positions in maintenance works. The carrier is running 5 mid-range Boeing planes and 2 Airbus planes of the same range.
The southern province of Tây Ning's administration has announced to reclaim 307.5 hectares of land from 2 FDI projects for inefficient use. The move followed an official investigation in 6 foreign invested agricultural projects. Specifically, 49.5 hectares was taken from Tây Ninh Agricultural Development Company. The firm received a land use license with a 20-year term in 1995 to plant and process vegetables and fruits for export. However, the authorities said the firm used the licensed land for wrong purposes, which causes inefficient production, huge losses, and debts. The other case is Biotech Joy Stock Company, which received a 50-year license to use 685 hectares of land for a project of breeding and planting flowers and herbs in November 2004. The authorities have decided to initially reclaim 258 hectares of unused land and may further take back more land from the company.
The World Bank signed agreements to lend Vietnam $620.4 million for infrastructure and development projects in Hanoi on Tuesday. The sum includes $150 million for a hospital waste management project, $174.1 million for an urban transport project in Hai Phong City, $180 million for the improvement of the power transmission system, $65.3 million for a sanitation project for coastal cities, and $50 million for the second phase of Program 135.
Vietnam has big potential for children's toys, but now Chinese imports are dominating 80% of the market due to attractive designs and low prices. Local players are struggling to expand their share in the remaining 20% of the market. We'll explore the situation in this week's in-depth report. Hoàng Thiên Phát is one of few Vietnamese producers of educational toys. Its director Nguyễn Cao Đức has been struggling to build the company's brand name and foothold in the domestic market. The local producers have been facing severe competition from Chinese imports, which are dominating the market.
Thị trường của mình thì bị ảnh hưởng nhiều nhất là do một số các hàng đồ chơi nhựa Trung Quốc. Cái nhất là giá thành của họ rất là rẻ. Cái thứ hai là họ cũng nhiều mẫu mã, chủng loại. Cái thứ ba nữa là nói chung là về cái chất lượng quản lý của các cái tổ chức quản lý của nhà nước mình ấy, về kiểm soát các hàng của Trung Quốc ấy, ví dụ như cái hợp chuẩn chẳng hạn, thì vẫn chưa được tốt.
Chúng tôi cũng đã đưa sản phẩm ra thị trường từ năm 2005, nhưng mà thực ra thì đến nay thì tôi cũng thấy có rất nhiều những cái khó khăn, đặc biệt là trong cái vấn đề mà cái vấn đề nhận thức của người tiêu dùng về cái sản phẩm đồ chơi giáo dục bằng gỗ, đồ chơi thông minh. Đấy. Cái thứ hai là cái thu nhập của người dân thì hiện nay cũng chỉ tập trung ở những cái đối tượng mà thu nhập cao. Cái thứ ba là cái đối tượng thu nhập cao thì chủ yếu tập trung ở những cái thành phố thôi.
Wooden educational toys are seen as novel products for local people. In addition, it is not easy for Vietnamese producers to handle labor, machinery and legal procedure issues.
Khi mà đầu tư sản xuất thì gặp rất nhiều khó khăn về vấn đề về kỹ thuật lành nghề này, công nhân kỹ thuật lành nghề này, máy móc trang thiết bị này, để chúng tôi phải tự đầu tư này. Công nhân kỹ thuật lành nghề thì không có một trường nào ở Việt Nam họ đào tạo, mà chúng tôi đều phải tuyển những cái lao động phổ thông về để chúng tôi tự đào tạo.
Của bên Trung Quốc ví dụ nó nhập hàng tại Việt Nam chẳng hạn, thì có thể nó nhập một lô hàng nó có tem thôi, nhưng có thể nó sẽ tràn lan những lô hàng khác, nó vẫn cứ không có, vẫn chỉ là một cái lô hàng đấy thôi, mà cái tem ấy họ vẫn dán đại trà vào. Nhưng trong nhiều doanh nghiệp Việt Nam thì lại phải đăng ký từ mẫu mã từng sản phẩm một, xong rồi đi kiểm định. Tất nhiên cái đấy là quy trình nó phải làm đầy đủ thôi, nhưng mà nó cũng còn rất nhiều cái phiền toái.
Most of cheap Chinese toy imports reportedly lack durability, safety, and clear origin. Economists say these weaknesses and the scant appearance of educational toys are presenting big opportunities for local manufacturers to make bold investments. In this week's Business Talk, we will review our conversation with Trung, Associate Director, National Head of Research and Consulting of Savills Vietnam. He will give us insights and forecasts on Vietnam's real estate market.
Hello, Mr. Trung. Thank you for joining VITV today. First of all, Hanoi's real estate prices remain high despite sluggish transactions. What do you think are the reasons, and when do you think prices will go down, like the situation in Ho Chi Minh City?
I think the answer is the level of the maturity of the markets between two cities are not in the same level. Hanoi market is somehow is less advanced, less mature compared to Ho Chi Minh City market. We have seen that a lot of adjustments between the supply and demand, which made to some the price reduce significantly in Ho Chi Minh City in recent. We have to say that even last year up to now. However, that thing is there is some adjustment, but not much in Hanoi markets. The problem here is we have seen that one is the buyers in Hanoi are very strong in some house, because for example, when we take an example, that's about 80% of the people who have bought a second home or the luxury home in coastal zone in Vietnam are the Hanoian people. That is not the case for Ho Chi Minh City buyers. Second reason is we have seen that Hanoi developers are more conservative. They escape from the crisis somehow better than the South. So very difficult to say that they will be in the difficult situation of the financial. So the warning, the worry that they have to reduce the price to get the money back is not the case immediately. However, that all the thing I think that all the developer and as well as buyer are waiting for the stable more in the macroeconomy. If nothing changes, I think that Hanoi will be the same like Ho Chi Minh City. But we all expect that more stable market in coming months in this year, so then it will be better situation.
The real estate market in Ho Chi Minh City is said to be warming up as prices have dropped to more affordable levels. So how do we elaborate on the situation?
I fully agree that the price is going down to the levels that look more affordable. But however, the question is, what does it mean affordable to the expenditure or the capacity of the most population of Vietnamese people? That's another issue. And another issue that we didn't touch more in details. Let's say like this, if the 1 square meter apartment is around 20 million Vietnam dong or 10 million Vietnam dong, is it affordable for the 68% of Vietnamese population or not? That's the question, very hard to say at that moment. So I want to point the thing here is we have to say that the price are reduced significantly, but to a weak level that most people can afford it is another issue. However, in another side, we have seen when the price going down, that means the profit for one project also going down. But we have seen that many other new developers want to acquire the land, the empty land. want to buy whole projects. That means now is the market is more dynamic. Some developers want to stop it, but many others waiting or are about to buy to take over that project. So in this case, if they are taking over the projects, potential for development, then the price is not going down. So that's the question, the balance between the buyer, developer, and the profit structure. That is coming soon to see in the, because it also again depends on the macroeconomy.
Some experts say the housing market in Vietnam is posing risks similar to those in China. What is your comment?
I think that there are some similarity between two countries. Both are very in good growth economic for the many years. However, the difference is we can see that, of course, China is much more advanced. They have been developed for many years already. But in the case of Vietnam, which I think for real estate market, 10 or 15 years maximum. That's one point. Second point that we see the significantly reduce or drop or fails that what that many experts said about the Chinese real estate market. But it's not the case for Vietnam markets. We can see some price reduce, but even in Ho Chi Minh or even in some apartment in Hanoi, but not such kind of the figure. So that there are some gap in between. We are not in that level. Vietnam is still less overdeveloped like the Chinese markets. So, however, if we didn't do anything to adjust the first sign of the so booming the markets, then the final result will be more or less the same as the Chinese today. So my view is we are not in best situation, let's say best situation for like Chinese, but if we didn't successfully to cover our macroeconomies as we are doing now, and if we didn't change much on the a lot of issue of the real estate market in Vietnam, then I think for 10 years more, 5 years more, will be the same situation.
Merger and acquisition or M&A deals are growing in the real market in Vietnam, but not many foreign investors are involved. So what are the reasons and what is your forecast for FDI into the real estate market in Vietnam in the next few years?
I think that there are many reasons behind, but I will not go to details about the bureaucratic issue or land clearing side or land compensation issues, obstacles that the developer, foreigner developer feel difficult when join the market. But I want to point only one issue. That's in Vietnamese real estate market, we still have not many institutional properties. Institutional property, we can consider those property like the qualified property for investment. We didn't have much so far. So the foreigners investors, normally they are looking for some qualified property, with good legal system document, with good profit making, etc. But that's not much in Vietnamese markets. Normally our property still far to that level. So normally it's internal or local developer try to work together. They try to cooperate together. So you see the M&A markets still dominated by the local developer. That's a fact. I think that at the moment the FDIs and the foreign investment environment in the surrounding country of Vietnam in region are very much different already, because many our neighborhood country, they try to compete with Vietnam, try to attract more investment, because you see that right after global crisis, all the countries made a lot of change already. If we want to attract more investment, we have to do more. One is we have to make our properties more qualified, more profitable, and more transparent in doing business. If we can't do this, if we are not coming to that level, then very difficult for FDI, because in the recent FDI statistic and study have shown that most of the projects normally they focus in short-term investment. That's very dangerous. We should think about stable and long-term investment.
Once again, thank you for joining with VITV's interview today.
The conversation has concluded our program this week. Thank you for watching. For comments and feedback, send us an email at intovietnam@vitv.vn or call us at 04 222 08288 or 0904 111 686. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tune in for our daily evening news.